Hey everyone, my guest today is Amanda Sage, and it looks like she's on here. There she is. Can you hear me, Amanda? I can't hear ya. I think we have to unmute you somehow. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can hear you too.
Great.
I wonder if I should use my headphone. If the sound will be better, let me know.
I can hear you fine. Can you hear me fine?
Can you hear me better now?
It's the same. There's not a whole lot of
difference.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Hi, Susie. Nice to see you.
So good to see you.
Yeah.
Excited you're here. I'm like, Amanda.
I know. We're just a phone call away.
I know, right?
Oh.
In this day, especially with Zoom and Skype and all the lovely stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and introduce you, and then we'll dive into our questions.
Okay. I'm going to pull them up on my phone so I can see them too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Amanda Sage is an artist using her painting as a tool for spiritual and planetary growth and transformation. In 1997, she apprenticed for 2 years in classical painting techniques with Michael Fuchs in Vienna, Austria. This led to becoming a painting assistant to Ernst Fuchs, founder of Fantastic Realism, for 10 years while developing her own style and portfolio. Since 2009, she has been based in Los Angeles and influential in networking artists and initiatives while hosting workshops, lecturing, and exhibiting worldwide. She is a co-founder of the Vienna Academy of Visionary Art and is on the board of directors of Cosm, Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, Alex and Allison Gray's Art Sanctuary in New York. Her paintings represent multidimensional aspects of humanness in harmonious balance, inspiring a remembering of an energetic interconnectedness that is present and shared with all things. Welcome, Amanda. So good to have you.
Thank you.
So, tell me, have you always known that you're an artist? And if not, when did you realize that you were an artist?
Well, I guess I always realized I was an artist. Nobody told me I wasn't. And I think it just, I never questioned that really. I think it was just something that continued to unfold as a means of being able to be in the world and communicate and share. And it was something that I enjoyed doing, was making things with my hands. Yeah.
So I guess identifying as an artist is different than knowing as an artist. Have you always identified as an artist as well?
I've also always identified as an artist. I guess when you're young, at some point somebody's like, "Oh, you're such a great artist," or "That looks," or that's somebody commends you for something, and then you're like, "Oh, I am that." And I feel like that just never stopped with me. Like I never took on another role, And so what it means to be an artist, though, continued to unfold. So I'm still discovering what that means, which is really exciting. I think that's why I'm still doing what I'm doing, is because it's like the artichoke or the flower keeps revealing new petals. And yeah, so in that way, I'm a very proud artist for at least the journey,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to ask that question too, because I had a hard time identifying as an artist myself up until recently. So it's like a question that I like to ask. So
Yeah. No, I think everybody's different, like, perspective of what it is to be an artist is different, so, and that's really what I've discovered through the conversation and being with artists, being an artist, identifying as an artist, like, what does that really mean? And I think, like, a lot of people connect that with profession, with, like, how you make your money. Like, I am this. Like, what do you do? And it's like, and that way people don't embrace their own, like, artistry, and also what that means to be an artist in the world. Because when you're an artist in the world, you're attentive to things, and you're also attentive to what you're putting into the world and your role. So, and that doesn't have to always mean that you're making a thing, like you're painting. You can be an artist in the way that you walk somewhere.
Agreed. Very beautiful book. Thank you for that. So, what kind of art do you make? I know.
Well, I make lots of kinds of art.
Tell me more.
I'm most known, I think, for painting. And that is one expression that I enjoy, and that I really went deep into spending a lot of time doing. They say 10,000 hours, right? Or something. I think I've done at least that, if not quite a bit more. Double that for sure. Who knows by now? But painting is something that I've really, like, thrown myself into, and through that then also teaching painting, and also clothing, and putting imagery on fabric that turns into clothing, like this, for an example. This is one of my paintings that's printed on fabric and then sewn together into a hoodie. And I have different friends that I collaborate with that help make the clothing happen, like these as well. Little gloves.
I actually have these gloves.
And so this is also, it's like you get to wear the art, which it means you are art as well. So you're wearing art, making art in the world, it's just fun.
It is wonderful.
So that's some of the stuff that I do. And I also perform, in the sense of making art live.
Yes.
And people get to see how a painting evolves and comes to life. And that's a kind of experience of almost getting into a channeling state, which is very fascinating. And I love that. And yeah.
So on that note, can you describe your creative process for me, please?
It always begins with something that something that I know for sure, and some feelings. And then I just throw myself off the cliff of what is and what could be. And I do my best to follow the feeling and the brush in a real curious way, so it's like I'm balancing things out, and I'm also always asking the color that's on my brush, where else do you want to go? Where else are you needed? And it's a different way of approaching it than just being like, I know this, like, ahead of time. It's more like I'm in the process, and I'm like, okay, guide me, and I'll guide you. So that's really, I'd say, what it comes down to. I also, though, will get to a point in a very analytical way also of observing something and then executing that. If that's my feeling, if that's where the feeling's driving me, is like, where does the painting want to go? To me, it's an adventure. I'm not quite sure where we're going to land, and I can't promise anything, but we're going to go somewhere, so it's like this adventure. And each painting is really, people ask me all the time, how long did that take you to make? And I'm like, well, sometimes years, because the dance just keeps going. Sometimes in one night, and I'm like, well, that was that experience, and that's that. And
Yeah, that's beautiful. The communication with the painting and the process itself.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm curious, do you find that your process itself is similar every time, or does it vary every
It,
time you
it does change all the time. Like there is something about, you know, just the time of day, what's happening in your life. Like you can never recreate a moment. And so, and there's times where it's just like really hard to connect. Like, and I've found that like just recently I've been working on a piece that I've just never been able to connect with very, very well. There's something, but I know there's something to get in there.
Yeah.
So I don't give up on it. But it's so hard for me to, but then I sit down and I'm like, oh, that's an experience I've never had before. And that leads to another experience I've never had before of revelation, really, and rebirth, especially when you continue to revisit things. I think the actual painting process, when you really get into it, you get into a deep sense of silence, too, of experiencing a state that is so often not easy to find, especially more and more in this day and age. So I think creating a painting or going deep into some kind of handwork, meditative thing gets us back in touch with something really essential and deep and healthy. Like doing yoga. You know how yoga is so good. It opens up your meridians, lets the blood flow through all your, you know, and I think painting or doing some kind of focused work or playing music is really healthy for our immune systems too.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying because I have definitely experienced these things. So it's nice to get the feedback.
Or the affirmation, right? It's like,
yeah. And I'm sure that you've noticed that the way you create has changed over the years too, right? So it's not just every time you stand to paint, but like there are different phases. For example, before you were in Vienna, your style would have probably been different than after you came back from Vienna. And
I think like every, you know, or if you look at decades of your work, I mean, right now I have 2 decades behind me and I can see very clearly the difference in the two. I mean, I also did a big location change, like, and spending more time back in the United States after 11 years in Vienna. And then I can really see the shift now and the overlay. It's so interesting to look back at your work and then also to know that you're always going to be changing. And so, you know, and you can't resist that. You really can't, you know, and if you do, that's when things don't feel good. So,
well, you know, it's the same as life, right? There's always change, no matter what you do. Can't avoid that.
yeah, and to me, that's the big metaphor there. You know, in painting, it reflects life. Like we are creating. My partner in Joe Bob likes to say we are creating.
I like that. Creating. I'm gonna start using it. Okay, so my next question for you is, what does presence mean to you, and have you experienced it while you're creating? I kind of know where this is going, but let's see what you have to say. Please do share.
Presence as in like another presence or just presence?
So like the presence of mind. I mean,
Yeah. Well,
physical presence, we're always like present physically, but are we present up here, like in our head?
Well, I think I touched on that just before, and that's like the silence when I said like the silence that you go into, and that's like it's meditation. You know, going into a state of introspection and a place where you let go and you allow, you know, and that's something that you get to through relaxing. And yeah, so it's definitely brings you into deep presence to be in to paint.
Yeah. Do you have moments where that's not available at all, or is it always there?
Do I have times when it's not available? Yeah, as if I'm standing in the way. My big fat shadow is like, you want presents? Yeah.
Sometimes wine helps.
Oh gosh, yeah, sometimes. Oh, my shadow likes to make it so difficult for me sometimes. You get me chasing, I've got wine, I go smoke something, I go, gotta have tea, I gotta have everything, and then I'm still just like, can't get myself to sit down, and it's like, no, just sit down and pick up the brush.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah, sometimes you're like, I don't want to paint right now.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta admit that too. But it's like the book, the art of the War of Art.
No,
the War of Art. It's a fantastic book on the resistance that we create in ourselves, or that with all the excuses we come up with to not follow our creative urges and things that are really, would be healthy for us. It's very interesting.
I'll have to check it out. Thank you for that. Yeah.
And for all the listeners too, it's a good tip.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be on my reading list.
I think maybe you can get an audiobook too. Those are great for when you're painting.
So where can we find your work these days, aside from online, and what projects are you up to? And I specifically want to ask about the Peace Train.
What's happening with the Peace Train? Well, first, let's see, my art, you can find it online. You can see it also in Los Angeles at my friend's yoga gallery, at Peace Yoga Gallery in downtown LA. You can also see my work right now in Switzerland, in Montreux, at the MAG Art Gallery. It's at an art fair. It's some big thing on visionary art with the Giger Museum and the Ernst Fuchs Museum, like 70 different artists. So I've got some art there. And then I've also got a painting that's going to be in Paris in a show. You can find that stuff online. My Facebook page is a good place to find that. Amanda Sage Art. Also on Instagram, Amanda Sage Art. You can follow happenings and things that I post. And my website, amandasage.com. That doesn't have a whole lot of my work on there. We're working on a new site, but you can also just Google Amanda Sage, find a bunch of stuff. And also for the clothing is amandasagecollection.com. And we've got some new releases coming out for the holidays, which will be fun. Some more superhero ponchos and stuff like that. And blanket.
Yeah, I want the entire collection now.
Oh man, we don't have much left. I mean, we only make like 50 pieces of one thing. We don't make much more. It's really a capsule collection. So they are collector's items.
Oh, nice. I wish I'd known that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
would you still want to be an artist if you were ever to come back to this beautiful earth of ours?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
For sure. I think it's a great way there's so many different ways to play and be in the world as an artist. Why not? I don't know, what else would I want to be? I look into the world and I think it's I feel so curious about everything. And what would it be to spend my days doing something completely different? I feel curious about that too. Yeah. Like life itself is the mystery and the thing that I feel like I have the great gift to be able to ponder that often in this life, But I look around me and I enjoy having the eyes trained as a visual artist. I'm sure it would be fun to have my ears trained like an operatic singer.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's what I'd come back, but that's still being an artist. You know, come back as like a world-class dancer. Mm.
There you go. Well, in a way, I mean, we are creating our life in an artful way. We all are doing that. We are,
Yeah.
like,
Or we all have the opportunity to do that.
it's artistry in motion. True. Some of us are better than others at it. It takes practice.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I think everybody just does it in a different way. It's not about better, like others are better. It's like when we stop comparing ourselves, then there is no better and there is no nuts. It's just like, yeah, this person maybe practiced more and trained their muscles to do all that.
Yeah.
But there's no better, you know. That's how I feel about it. We all can appreciate each other for different things and should be able to appreciate ourselves for our own unique gifts, you know. And in that way, we're all artists, arting, and becoming more conscious as we go.
Yes, that's the goal. So tell me more about the peace train.
Well, the peace train, that's a fun story. That's such a fun story. And you obviously are still thinking about it.
I am.
Do you hear a train where you live?
I'm waiting for the call to like join it, basically.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's what we need to be. I think that's where we need to be, is like when we're at that point, when we're like, I'm ready, then we're listening more, you know? And I think that's the point of the story to me in many ways at this point, that I like to tell through my art and through just storytelling, is that there's this vision, this of the next biggest party on planet Earth, is how I like to tell it, you know. And it's this great awakening, moment of great awakening, where it's undeniable, kind of like this surge of good is present, and we click into a new paradigm in a sense, because we are embracing the good. We're embracing the good. We're not focusing on the drama and on the bad and all the disease and the sickness and the deficit and the killings we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on all the good, and we're feeling good because we're eating good. We're moving good. We're hearing good. We're smelling good. We're tasting good. And all of this good just is so good, right? And everybody wants to experience it. And, you know, I just think it sounds like the most fun ever. And I know that we can do it. And I know that we are doing it. And I feel that we're doing it. And the train is like this real thing that I see that can really carry a city of like the next World's Fair of awesome, of the celebration of the genius of humanity. In an example, in a permaculture explosion of visionary culture, of remembering the ancient past and the wisdom of all our ancestors and tribes of the entire planet, not just like one nation. No, these tribes, they're ready to come together and join arms and say, we are brothers and sisters now, you know? And so that's happening. And it's the same, all the tribes. So it's the rainbow family tribe, which is all the colors of the people of planet Earth are coming together to remember. And I think that's what the peace train is. Yeah. And it's a real thing, and it's something that's also a metaphor that's happening in everyday moment. So you are already on the train, and so am I. And every time we hear the train, we're building the next level of it, you know?
Yeah, I know it just spoke to me so much when you told us about it at the workshop I did with you. So I just thought I'd bring it up. So thank you for sharing.
Thank you, because you know how much I love to talk about it.
I know, and it's like the best vision ever. So why not share it with the world?
Yeah, and it's happening. And this is what the encouragement is, that each of us is a part of it, and all of us can go. Like, everybody's invited. So what is our puzzle piece and what is our part? And maybe it's just thinking about it and dreaming about it and knowing that it's something that is possible and something that we can work towards. Be like, okay, if I want to be, what is my role? What puzzle piece do I see as it's building? Because I think we're feeding this vision that isn't mine, and it's a collective vision, right? That is just seeding itself, I think, into us, and we're seeding into it. So, and I really believe that, it's a great, you find like-minded people that like the story too, and hang out with each other. Yeah. And then the ideas bounce and connections happen, and this creating new trading posts is what we're doing. So the train is this connector. The train moves from station to station, and we're the little stations, So, I mean, and in reality, we can really go, we can carry a city on a train. We can carry the infrastructure needed to pop up a city, with tents and teepees and containers turned into kitchens and bathrooms and, all kinds of amazing things. And then we can come into a town and plant gardens and work with the town to build new schools and all of these things can happen. It can be build a wonderland that stays. Why not take a section of the city of a town, and build something that becomes an attraction, and it's a school. Yeah. And then that economy can continue to thrive as we go on,
Beautiful. Yeah. The train is on its way to your neighborhood. Look for it.
Wow. Totally.
Yeah, it's about figuring out what our little contribution is to the bigger picture.
Yeah, and if we don't know what it is, follow something that feels good and inspires you.
Exactly.
Because there's at least something that inspires you and feels good. And if you go towards that path will keep opening.
Like, I was inspired to interview all these amazing artists that I've met along my ways. So
yeah.
So I just have one last question for you. And that is, it's like my favorite question these days. What superpower would you like to have, Amanda?
What superpower would I like to have?
You were able to choose one.
Yeah, I'd like to go abracadabra. Boom, there's a train and a train track, and anywhere that the wand goes, the track goes.
Oh my God, the magic wand.
Yep, there you go. Nice.
That would be so perfect for you. I'm kind of thinking about doing this project myself of, like, at the end of all the interviews that I'm going to do this caricature with everyone with their superpower, basically.
Yeah.
And have a wand.
Amazing. Yeah, that's so funny. You have the same fabric.
Well, it's from you. This is the one we did.
I know, but we had a bunch of different ones, and we happen to both have the same one. It's perfect.
Perfect. Well, that's great. I guess we're casting the same spells.
Yes, we're casting spells. That's what it is. And this is what my dear friend Christopher Ulrich, he changed forever my perspective on the sketchbook, because they're actually our spell books.
Oh, spell books.
Right? Yeah. So we're always casting spells through drawing and through painting. We're casting spells. So really consider that. Think of that. And what kind of spells do you want to be casting? Do you want to be casting ones of feeding more of the beast inside of ourselves and inside of the collective consciousness, or do we want to be casting spells of healing and of
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, of peace.
I know
to bring more.
Definitely, yeah. We want peace and transformation and all the good stuff. We'll get there.
Love.
Yeah.
I'd say, man, with more love, we could do with some more love.
On that topic, I saw something recently about love. I'm not gonna get into it now, but something about like don't get like too hung up on that concept of like if someone's a villain, then you gotta treat them as a villain and not let them in your neighborhood, basically. Don't be
Yeah.
loving with the villains.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. So thank you, Amanda. I really appreciate it. And please stay in touch. I am going to have to wrap this up because I sometimes worry about YouTube, although it seems like I'm good for like an hour. So if there's anything else that you'd like to share or speak to, please feel free to say whatever it is that you would like to say before we say bye.
Well, I'm curious. I see 9 minutes here on my, it says remaining time, 9 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Just to let you know.
Okay.
But yeah, what inspired you to create this podcast? I'm curious.
I felt like artists don't have much voice these days. And I don't see anyone interviewing artists at all. There's like all these interviews with spiritual teachers, but I also somehow feel that art and art making in a way is a spiritual path. Like that's something that I truly believe in. And I feel that artists have a lot to contribute if society would only listen to them, but most of us artists are really great at hiding. So I just wanted to bring that out into the world and, you know,
Well, that's awesome.
Out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think I do see there's so much content out there. I can't even like begin to, you get sucked into there's so much on the internet now and so much for self-publishing. You can't really follow everything all the time. But I think that now than ever, and this medium to be able to do an interview like this is, it's become more available, and there are a lot more people speaking out and speaking their mind. And a lot of times we just need to be nudged to do it. So I think it's a great thing. Thank you for asking me like, hey, do you want to talk? Yeah. And we'll present it to the world and we'll let the world know, because I think, this is a value. And I agree. I am constantly wondering how to become more, or not how to, I guess I've realized that I just have to do it. And that is like become a better journalist, I guess, in terms of sharing with people a lot of the different interesting things that come across my path. Yeah. And I think it's something to be trained, because I think a lot of times that I'm like, oh, yeah, that was cool. And I just keep going, but I could have just pressed play, because I have a device now that goes with me pretty much everywhere and an access to a network. And I think, that's something that I'm saying out here. It's something I think about and I need to work more on. And I think I would encourage other people to do that too. Inspiring stuff in your life, real life feeds, I think is an incredible way to document and this movement and this kind of like growing sight and awareness that people are waking up to, and then we can encourage each other that we're not alone. This idea that artists are alone, or that there's all this wounded artist kind of persona that a lot of people carry around, that are sitting in offices that don't want to be in offices, that are doing things that they don't want to be doing, and they're daydreaming about being artists. That's right. And the thing is they need, there's a healing that needs to happen, because it's not necessarily that you want to be an artist. It's maybe this fantasy, like, oh, I'd rather be at the beach fantasy too. But is that really what it is? Sometimes it is, but I think there's a deeper
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah, there's like this need for a sense of fulfillment
Mm-hmm.
on a deeper level than like your average 9 to 5 job.
I say sometimes the fulfillment that I'm seeking, I cannot find in painting.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like this, if only I were painting, then everything would be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think sometimes we put that, that kind of like our happiness is dependent on that. But, you know, that's just a time that we remembered that we could be quiet and be ourselves, maybe, you know, like what is that really?
Yeah.
And I find that just something that I ponder quite often. And I feel that the encouragement of people talking about it, like what is really going on in there, and doing that on social media or posting it, starting a channel and a conversation, it helps people not feel alone so much in their process.
It's also, it goes back to having a voice. A lot of this is, you know, sometimes people are not that encouraged, or society kind of makes you not have a voice. It's kind of stifles that in you, you know, like having your own opinion about things. And like if you don't follow what everyone else is following, then you're kind of like, oh, whoops, maybe I shouldn't say that because people are going to judge me or something. You know, there's a lot of that going on. Maybe not in certain circles, but it still exists.
Well, it's because so many people are watching you now, and you don't want to sometimes like start a conversation, even if you don't, or you know, a discourse of defending yourself.
Yeah.
And not even defending it, but like getting into the discussion. Oh, I totally agree.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
we always disagree, you know. We could disagree and still love each other. I don't see what's wrong with that.
It can be pretty harsh, I think, the internet, though, like, and how heavy people can be in lashing out at others, you know.
Yeah.
We're connected to more people than ever, but not like direct, you know.
That's true. Well, this was a very stimulating conversation. I'll be thinking about it. I'm sure this is what happens every time I record one of these. I feel like I want to go back and ask more questions.
Oh, for sure.
They
For
don't come
sure.
to me right away, but I'm like, I need more answers. So, hey, you never know. There might be a follow-up interview sometime.
Okay.
Or I don't want to call them interviews anymore. It's more like a chat. So
a conversation.
Yeah, a conversation. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. It's so good to see you again, and hopefully we'll be in touch. Thank you, man.
Yay.
Have a great day and talk to you.
Bye. Okay. Ciao.
Bye.